Be more like me. I'm Jamie Carruthers.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
Here it's final transmission. It's me, Sam Russo. It's Jamie Carruthers, and it's
one horror movie a week from the dawn of time till the end of time.
Hi everyone, welcome to Final Transmission. Today we're talking about a Blumhouse film.
Yeah, we're doing a second in a row, brand new spanker.
Yep.
And I do want to take a little bit of time early on to talk about both these films in relation to one another.
Yeah, because you have this preoccupation with these two films being side by side.
Yeah, well, last week we covered Backrooms, brand new film by a 20-year-old filmmaker by the name of Kane Parsons. And this week we're covering Obsession, which is by a very young director, 26. I bet he thought he was fucking killing
he passed it, mate.
But yeah, like...
26, sit down, granddad. No one cares. You're old.
When they came out on the same day in the UK, there was very much a Barbenheimer for sickos thing that like linked them together.
Yeah.
I double billed them in the same day.
Yep.
The first time I watched both of them. And I had a very different experience with both of them. We've obviously talked in depth about Backrooms last week. If you want to go back and listen to that, if you haven't already, you can do that. It's still there. It's on the feed. You can even watch the uncut extended video version of it over at patreon.com/final transmission if you want to throw us $5. But This week we're going to talk about Obsession, directed by Curry Barker. The link, besides them both being, you know, young, although I'm sure Kane Parsons looks at Curry Barker and is like, "You're fucking my granddad."
You're fucking my granddad.
Well,
I haven't had that accusation thrown at me in a while.
You're basically, when I was 20, if someone was 26, they would seem like the oldest person in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, almost disgusting. Like, get away from me, you pedo. Yeah.
Yeah. But when I was 27, I went to uni. So who's the real fucking
up is down, left is right.
Yeah.
So you double billed these movies, which I have a theory about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience at the cinema that day and how it twisted you for life?
Well, I mean, obviously I talked about Backrooms last week and how on my first watch of that, it didn't hit me in the way that it hit a lot of other people. And I came away with it feeling some feelings, but ultimately not massively satisfied. I then had a 30-minute break where I wandered around the city where we both live, Swansea, of course.
Of course.
And then went back into the cinema to watch Obsession.
Yeah.
And it blew my nuts out the back of my brain. I was so horribly, intensely terrified and freaked out. A guy that does not get scared in the cinema. I texted you after I watched it. I left the cinema and I was so scared. I was like, I just need to feel some normality. So I went to John Lewis and I felt the Carhartt jackets. And I was just like,
fucking hell.
I was just like shaking. I was literally like vibrating in John Lewis. Like...
You're describing the problem, Jamie. You are gentrification in human form. I was standing in John Lewis, touching Carhartt, shaking. That's the most fucked up shit I've ever heard in my life.
I was.
That's the equivalent of like wealthy Victorian women having to go and touch a petticoat to ground themselves.
I had the vapors.
You did. You had the delirium. Do you think, and I've thought about this a little bit, because I've seen both films, but I saw them like a healthy human being separately with a big gap of time between them.
One day apart.
Yeah. What? And that was too close for me. Do you think there might be a cumulative effect happening here? You spent a lot of time in the dark watching some really scary shit, and then you were all fucked up afterwards.
No, because when I watched it the second time, I was
such a nutter.
Just as scared, if not more scared, at the end.
So you watched both these films twice within the span of what? 3 days?
10 days.
10 days, yeah. In the cinema.
Yeah.
Wow. They should just, whenever they're trying to run those ads for like getting value out of your Cineworld membership or whatever, they should just put a picture of you up with a little testimony. It's like, I watched 600 films at the cinema last year, some of them multiple times. Be more like me. I'm Jamie Carruthers. That should be their next marketing campaign.
I mean, I really want the value out of my Odeon Unlimited pass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that expensive. It's like 20 quid a month. But like,
Yeah.
if you watch 3 films, you're in profit. If you watch 12 films,
Profit? I don't know. I don't think you're walking away with any money in your pocket.
if you watch 12 films a month, you're basically robbing Hollywood.
You're basically rich, yeah. If anything, you're making money.
Exactly. That's how I can afford to touch all these Carhartt jackets.
Yeah, definitely. So you don't think there was an element there that the sort of slow burning tension of Backrooms maybe seeped into your marrow and was slowly thrumming away there when you whip cracked yourself back in to the cinema to watch horror of a very different type of arresting, visceral intensity? Do you think there was any like groundwork laid there for you to be royally fucked up by round 2?
I don't think so, because like I say, when I watched them both the second time, I watched them very separately.
Sure.
Like when I rewatched Backrooms, it was in like a day where I did some much more lighthearted films.
Yeah.
And then when I watched Obsession again, it was completely by itself.
Yeah.
And like I say, I was still much more scared, or similarly scared towards the end of Obsession the second time as a standalone experience. I find it so genuinely terrifying.
We're in real danger here because a big part of me wants to delve into like psychologically why. It's very interesting to me.
I've thought about that a lot, and it's not maybe something that we're going to get into here because I don't want to, tip my hand too much. None of you are my therapist, so you don't get to hear any of this stuff.
Yeah, man, the fucking dream I talked to my therapist about today. God, hands down scarier than Obsession.
Save it for the Patreon. Let's get some money out of these fuckers.
Sounds good.
So you know how I felt about it. Obviously, you knew.
Well, I only know a tiny little bit. I only know what you told me, which is that you thought it was far superior to Backrooms and it was far scarier, and that it left you, as the kids would say, shook.
Shaking in John Lewis.
Yeah, which yeah, exactly. OMG, shaking in John Lewis. I assume that means you thought it was a good film, because sometimes films can be horribly scary and not particularly good, and sometimes films can be brilliant but not very scary. And I assume that this was like the graph apex for you.
Yeah, I feel like I've very much tipped my hand. I did like this a lot. I feel like this is a film that I could watch 3 times a year for the next 10 years.
Or go to therapy.
I do that too.
Good.
When I watched Backrooms, I came out of that being like, that was interesting. This is a filmmaker to watch. I'm interested to see what he does next. Whereas I came out of this being like, I need to consume everything this guy's already done, and I will then be a day one for anything that he does next.
Sure.
Which, I mean, sadly, they've announced that he's going to do the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that fills me with a very different kind of dread.
Why?
Because I just don't know if I need a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know if, like, we joked on the Backrooms episode about them immediately giving Kane Parsons a Marvel movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And giving someone a fucking reboot off the back of like something amazing like this.
It's the horror equivalent.
Yeah, it literally is. And it's just sort of sad.
In many ways, Leatherface is the Superman of the horror world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. If they let him write it, that might be more interesting.
Like maybe,
he's obviously a fucking superb writer. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I left this film not shook, really.
Wow.
I thought it was scary, don't get me wrong, but it was in no way the kind of cut to the core, physically shaking terror that you're describing. I was massively along for the ride and fully bought into the entire story and was having the cinematic horror experience. But I didn't leave with like physical symptoms of fear. I just thought, wow, that was scary. Which I think is really interesting. For you to find something scarier than me is absolutely unprecedented.
I mean, it genuinely is. I've not been that scared for decades.
Wow.
By
I mean,
like, you know, occasionally I'll see someone on the street and I'm like, okay, I'm crossing the road. But like,
but by fiction, you know,
yeah,
by not genuine life peril. Like, I nearly fell off a cliff once. That's the most scared I've ever been, I think.
yeah,
But the feeling of inescapable oppressive audio-visual fear in a cinema is common for me, but not to the extent that you're describing. I don't think I've ever felt like that. Maybe Blair Witch the first time. That
yeah.
really fucked me up as a younger person. I just thought this was obviously we both are going to say that we loved this and thought it was an excellent film. And we'll go
Well, I
into
mean, and
detail
not
about that.
obviously. You've not. I have no idea how you really felt about it at this point.
Oh, well, yeah, I did. I thought it was about as close to perfect execution of this particular idea as
Yeah.
you could really do, I think. But it was just scary in a way that I found normal, if you know what I mean. Like not kind of comforting scary. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we talk about how, like, you know, some slightly less fanged and clawed movies are a little bit comforting to watch at times in a horror way. I just thought, like, wow, that was scary. I had no kind of, you know, sense that it followed me home, really.
Yeah, I
Definitely
mean,
didn't follow me to the Carhartt section of My Nearest John Lewis. That will never not be funny.
you mentioned that it's a Blumhouse movie, but like it isn't really a Blumhouse movie.
Well, that's what I found really interesting, is seeing Blumhouse all over it. And in terms of the Blumhouse involvement, they can only benefit from being attached to this property
Yeah.
because it's such an elevation in terms of quality.
Yeah, and also like, I mean, it was filmed independently for about $750,000.
So unbelievably cheap.
And like, I mean, I want to maybe after the first break, before we get into spoilers properly, I want to just talk about these two films in conjunction with each other.
Yeah.
But for now, sort of focus on this. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of insane to me that this is the cheap movie and that Backrooms is the more expensive movie.
Oh, it blew my mind when I saw the Backrooms budget. I was like, wow, that's so cheap. And I saw this budget and I was like, fucking pound stretcher. That's incredible.
Like they basically made this by like what Harvey Weinstein would find in his sofa, like insane money, and like so it was shot independently for $750,000. The actors that are in it, obviously, there are some actors that you recognize, like Andy Richter, and stuff, and then like the two main leads, Indy Neverett, Michael Johnston, are like people that have been in stuff. They've been in like TV shows. So they made this on the super cheap, and then Blumhouse bought it for 15 million, which is still only 5 million more than the cost of the Backrooms.
Yeah.
And it has made what, $25 billion at this point or something? Like
It's quite an astute purchase, isn't it? You got to take your hat off to whoever it ended up being. Obviously, Blumhouse in the end ended up seeing that and being like, "Fucking, we'll have that, mate."
Yeah.
Literally going to give you loads of money and put my name on it. Wallop.
It's one of the most high, like one of the highest grossing films, independent films of all time at this point.
Yeah.
And it cost this much. Like it was meant to come out on streaming on the 2nd of July, on the 2nd of June. And they were like, fuck that. We're keeping it in cinemas. That's where we're making our money.
It could be like a fucking Broadway show at this point. Like I know I come from a small town and used to go to the cinema a lot in a small town where the cinema was totally empty most of the time. It was normally me, Claire, and a rolling cast of up to 6 other people, all of whom you knew, basically, at every film worth watching. But for both of those films, the cinema was absolutely packed. And for both of those films, we had to go to whichever cinema had spare seats. It was so full for such a portion of the days that we wanted to go.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not saying like my experience says anything about the universal impact of this movie, but young people are packing theaters to watch this.
Yeah, to watch both of them. Like they're obviously, horror is the genre that's basically like horror and kids films, and I guess Marvel movies are the only things that are getting people to actually to go to the cinema.
Sure.
Disclosure Day.
Event movies, yeah.
Yeah. Disclosure Day also had a big thing, and then there was the whole Barbenheimer thing.
What do you want to do? I think we should just get stuck in.
All right, well, let's do a synopsis, and we'll come back after a break, talk about the confluence of these two movies without getting into spoilers just yet.
Yeah.
And then we'll jump straight into spoilers, because I think we've made it clear that we like this.
Let's talk about why we don't.
Well, that's quite a short list for me.
Yeah.
In my 6 pages of notes, there's very little that I don't like.
6 pages.
So, synopsis, right, Sam?
Yep.
Bear is a lovable loser who has a crush on his best friend, Nikki,
Yep.
who doesn't see him the same way. When he fails to tell her how he feels, he uses a one wish willow to wish that she loves him more than any other fucking person on the planet, or any other person on the fucking planet, or something is the language. And I think that's important. So we'll swing back around on that. And then, spoiler alert, she loves him. But is that level of love healthy? Probably not, Sam. It's a fucking horror movie.
Yep, no shit.
So
I mean, hijinks ensue.
hijinks definitely ensue.
Ooh, some hijinks.
So that's the synopsis.
Well played.
Not
Covered
going
all the
any,
bases.
any deeper than that. Before we go to break, I want to say that you should definitely subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/final transmission, where you can get uncut, unedited versions of this episode and many, many others like it. You can also follow us on our social media, your platform of choice at FT Horror Show. You can follow Sam at his social media at Sam Russo Music. Me, I'm at Carruthers on Instagram. That's with a Z and no E. I'm also on Letterboxd at JamieFT. That's it. That's everything. So here's a break. We'll be back in a minute.
We'll be right back.
Whoa, shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
Okay, Sam, I am back.
I'm back.
So these two movies are linked. And I think they're linked in a number of ways.
They take place in the same universe.
They absolutely do, yeah. No, they don't. But obviously we mentioned that both of these directors are very young. One of them is much younger than the other. But towards it all flattens out because, 26 might as well be 11 and 20 might as well be 10 and a half. Like,
one of them's at his peak in his hockey career, and the other one is just about, NHL ready.
they both come from a YouTube background.
Mm-hmm.
Kane Parsons was making short films in the specific backrooms oeuvre before making the movie, whereas Corey Barker came from a sketch comedy background, which is interesting because obviously we're seeing a lot of that lately.
Are we?
Zach Cregger was in the Whitest Guys You Know, Whitest Kids You Know. Jordan Peele, obviously Key and Peele. The Philippi brothers in Australia, they were sketch comedy comedians. And Josh Rubin, who made Heart Eyes, also was a big, like a UCB improv sketch guy.
It's almost
So,
like
like-
horror and comedy have some connective tissue.
Yeah. Obviously, Corey Barker had made a few horror shorts, and one thing that was technically a feature before this called Milk and Cereal. There are some fundamental differences. Like I say, I think it's sort of insane that Backrooms is the more expensive of these two movies because this feels much more like a movie.
Interesting. I don't know what you mean, but yeah.
Backrooms is very much almost an experiment in terms of like movie making. It's kind of, I don't want to say paradigm shifting, but it's kind of like it's antagonistic to like the standard structure and pacing of like typical cinema that we see regularly.
Sure.
Obviously,
It's
there's
a bit
plenty
more
of-
on the sort of Kubrickian spectrum than
Yeah.
Obsession, which is far more like closer to trad horror.
Yeah, I think that like Corey Barker is a lot more like not slavishly adherent, but like he's much more like in line with the tropes and the sort of more general Hollywood movie output. He made a movie that feels like a movie, whereas like the Backrooms feels much more like you're on a slide and it's going very slowly, but you're sort of weaving around. It's like a
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It is like you're on a really slow slide. You're absolutely right. You've worn the wrong shorts to the park and you're on a fucking hot, slow slide.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whereas
I
this
went
is
to-
more like you're wearing your tracksuit and you're flying down a fucking flume covered in
Yeah.
grease.
like this is just like a standard roller coaster, an
Yeah.
interesting roller coaster that you've not been on before. But
Yeah.
like you've been on a roller coaster before, you know what it's like.
Yeah. But at one point, it flies off the track and you die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a fear that I have generally
Of course.
being on a roller coaster. Is just like I'm the guy that my strap comes loose. I get to the top, I ping off, I spin around into the distance, plummet to my death head
Yep.
first.
There's grainy YouTube footage of my death everywhere.
Yeah, I become a cautionary tale.
I feel like that's the only way we can really contribute to culture is for our deaths to be cautionary tales.
I went on Universal in Florida. There's like a roller coaster that like pumps music into your ears specifically.
Oh, right.
I can't remember what it's called. Like it's not the Rock and Roller Coaster because that's the Aerosmith one that is now Muppets, but it's something like that. And you choose a song before it starts, and then it plays the song. And the first time I
Choose
went,
your own song.
yeah,
Fucking
first
hell,
time I went on it, I chose Sabotage by Beastie Boys,
nice.
and it almost perfectly lined up. Like it was like the build up, and then I went down.
Yeah.
It was great. The second time I chose Rollin' by Limp Bizkit, and everything just fell off. It felt
Right.
like I was experiencing a different ride, or maybe the same ride, but it was 50 years in the future, and nobody had maintained it in the
Right.
meantime. And it'd been like a day,
Yeah.
and it just sort of felt this is I am literally going to die. Like this is
Right.
this is the day that I die. I fall off this roller coaster with Rolling as the last thing I hear as I careen to my death.
Fucking hell. What a story. We do a little bit of forensic digging into Jamie's death. Like, I wonder, he's on that roller coaster where you choose your song. I wonder what he chose. I hope he went out in a real poignant blaze of glory. Nope.
By Bon Jovi, but
Yep.
sadly not.
He died hearing Take Him to the Matthews Bridge. Screamed in his ears. Yeah, Limp Bizkit's now.
Yeah.
He died doing what he loved. Literally listening to Limp Bizkit flying around really fast in a little car.
Yeah. So
Anyway, what's this got to do with anything?
we were talking about there was a roller coaster analogy, and here we are.
And off we go. Yeah, away we go.
They both do. The protagonist is the villain, sort of.
Yes.
Obviously, they do very different things with it.
Mm-hmm.
We talked last week about your read that Backrooms was kind of either about AI or informed by the horror that we live in as a result of AI, or that taken to its sort of nth degree.
Yeah, some kind of tech dystopia theme.
Yeah, and I kind of think that maybe there's an AI flavor in this movie too.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how much I can get into that without spoilers.
Hard to not spoil this film because the inciting incident happens relatively early and everything after it is here's what you're going to see at the cinema stuff. But in terms of pre-spoiler happenings in the film, I think the tone for the film is set quite early. And I was, in terms of the actual experience of watching it in the cinema, I was a little bit worried I was in for some dog shit performances from the early parts of the film.
Yeah.
And you'll be pleased to know that is absolutely not the case in this film. I think Ian's performance in the beginning, played by Cooper Tomlinson, is a little bit janky, and I think it might be deliberate. There's something that grinds about the friendship group's conversations early in the film, and I think it's to give us a sharper decline when things start to go wonky. I think it's more like there's a performative element to the friendship early in the film potentially that completely obviously buckles after the snapping of the twig. But in the beginning I was like, oh no, I knew this was a cheap film and some of these performances are going to be super rough, but they weren't.
I think that his performance particularly, and I think that like the performances that you get at the beginning of this movie feel like we're in low budget slasher. And they're like the top end of that, but like they're still that. And his performance in particular really reminds me of Adam Green, the director of Hatchet, in any role that he's ever done. He was in a TV show that he made called Holliston, and the way that he delivers all of his lines in that show is exactly the same as his character. I don't know if that's on purpose or whether it's just like the snarky friend character type trope.
Yeah. It's also tricky, I guess. I've sort of fixate on those characters because I really enjoy them when they're done well. There's lots of examples of them in a million horror movies, but I felt like he brings a very, like almost Zoomer energy to the portrayal of a sort of genre character that historically I think is, in my mind at least, fairly rooted in 80s slasher movies and has not had an enormous amount of room to grow with culture. We saw it evolve a little bit in the 90s with the sort of 90s slasher revolution. We've seen it in various forms over the last like 3 to 5 years, where the nuance has started to creep in a bit more. It's become a bit more of a generational thing. But I was worried there was going to be too much grind in the portrayal of these very modern young people in a genre film that felt like it was going to be referencing or drawing from very, very old horror movie, genre tropes. And I think it just finds its groove really, really quickly. Obviously, we
Yeah.
know, I've learned from being on this podcast with you, that films aren't shot in sequence. But like
It's true.
whatever way around this was shot, there's a flow that it clicks into very quickly. And it led me to believe, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, that some of the early scenes of the friendship group are deliberately portrayed as a little bit more contrived than later on, where it's a bit more primal and a bit more raw and real. And that social dynamic's really interesting early on. I think it hooked me in the cinema because there was no hint for me visually that this was a cheap film.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's what I mean by like this versus the Backrooms. You would
Yeah,
expect that this is because it has the sheen of a movie, which Backrooms has that sort of low budget green and yellow energy. Do you know what I mean?
at
And
times it definitely has that quality to it where you're like, this feels like it could be bigger. Maybe
yeah,
not like a better quality shot, because there's a lot of the grainy VHS found footage type stuff, but it feels like this could have a slightly grander scale,
yeah,
but it's not. It's sort of shrunk down to its component parts. Whereas this is a small movie, really, isn't
yeah,
it? It's not. It
yeah.
doesn't
It's
take
effectively
place
two characters
yeah,
in a house,
in a couple of locations. Yeah,
and like you've got what, a duct tape budget, you've got a blood budget, and you've got like that's it, right?
you're blowing some money on a couple of real set piece special effects,
Yeah.
like practical effects. And the rest of your budget is like sandwiches and Red Bull, probably.
Yeah. Just so where we are in the discourse as we're recording this, the big story coming out of this now is because it's made shitloads of money. A lot of the people that didn't get paid very much are
Yeah, I
like,
read about this.
"Oh shit, I didn't get paid very much for this," and fucking people are rolling in it. And I don't want to dig too deeply on that because like Curry Barker has come out and been like, "Yeah, the people that are making money on this are people who took a chance on it."
Yeah,
And everybody that didn't really make any money off this is hopefully going to go on and have massive careers as a result.
yeah,
And I sort of agree with that. I mean, I don't think it would hurt for Jason Blum to bung 10 grand at everybody in the crew and still have an extra 300 million to take home with him at the end of the day. But
I'd
like,
probably still be if not a billionaire, a multi-millionaire.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Thanks for making me richer, guys. Here's 10K. I shit 10K. I'm Jason Blum.
yeah, I mean, I kind of, I see both sides of it, but like,
But we're those people who always think that rich people should just give poor people money. And
yeah,
that's just not a thing, unfortunately. I agree that there's a fundamental divide here of like the boomer generation being like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, graft. And if you work hard enough, you'll eventually get paid what you deserve. Bullshit. We know that. But
yeah,
also, you see these incredibly talented people getting paid 5 grand or whatever to work for 2.5 weeks on a film that goes on to make more money than God. And you do think, fucking hell, it doesn't feel particularly fair, but it is how the
no,
creative, the arts, all of that as an industry, it is how it works. You show up as a day trader, basically, and you get told, make this look good, you make it look good, and you leave. You're not necessarily entitled to a slice of the creative pie overall. If you sung backing vocals on, a Rolling Stones song, doesn't mean that you deserve 750 grand royalty every year.
no, it's like, people that have walk-on parts in sitcoms, they'll get
Yeah,
residuals every single week or whatever, or every time that episode airs, but they might be sub $1. I think, bring them some money. I think like it's easy for Curry Barker to also be like, we can parlay this into massive careers.
yeah,
But like the people that are going to move on from this movie and have massive careers are going to be Curry Barker and Indy Navarrete.
yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, you'd
everybody
hope.
else hopefully will have solid careers or,
Yeah.
drink themselves into obscurity because they only got paid 7.5 grand. But like,
You'll find them at the Frolic Room begging for beers. It's hard. It's hard. You can't. There's no pecking order when it comes to creative value or talent, in my opinion. Just because one person,
yeah,
absolutely loves Indy Navarrette's performance doesn't mean she's more talented than the production designer's assistant. Even, do you know what I mean? There's so much nascent talent. There's so much talent yet to be nurtured. There's so much hidden talent. There's so many people working jobs that aren't their dream job in Hollywood, You know, a lot of the key grip could be the greatest fucking actor you ever met in your entire life. The chips just didn't
Well,
land
yeah,
where they should have.
Harrison Ford was a carpenter
Yeah.
on set. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Bob from fucking Twin Peaks was just a guy. Like,
yeah,
you know,
and
there
they've
is
had the
still
same career, Bob and Harrison Ford, basically the
exactly.
same
One of them died of a
trajectory.
heroin overdose years later, and the other is quite possibly the most famous man on earth. Uh, Carpenter made good. It's really
Yeah,
hard
Jesus
to
Christ.
exactly. Yeah, he's in many ways the Jesus Christ of our time. It's so hard. I don't want to be the guy that says these people, you know, they got paid and they left because that was their day job. Because I don't think anything in this entire studio system is fair. But I do think it's a little bit rich to be like, hey,
Yeah,
I fucking put that light there. I deserve 2% of the global box office of this film.
yeah. I think like it's, and who knows where the conversation will be when this actually comes out.
Sure.
But the conversation is here at the moment, so we're having it. I think like it's a conversation that you would have behind closed doors with your partner. Be like, do you know what? I got paid $7.5 grand for that, and they've made over £500,000.
We do it. All of us who work in
Yeah,
any kind of environment where our labor is essentially exploited by our boss, we've lived in that capitalist system our whole lives. It
yeah,
shouldn't really be surprising. It sucks. You missed out on a huge paycheck because, you know, maybe in a different timeline or in days gone by, you would have got a percentage of those profits. And that, my friend, is moving towards a much more socialist model that we all should be striving for, in my opinion. But it ain't
agreed.
the current system. You know, you
Yeah.
get what you're given, you like it, you lump it, you move on to your next project, and you hope you become a billionaire inexplicably and completely by accident.
I think like the production design on this movie is great,
Yeah.
and so I feel like I might even edit this out because I don't know if this is a take that I want out there, but like I feel like the work that you would get as a production designer off the back of this would be quite good. And you would definitely be able to parlay your work in this into something else, but maybe not if you're whining about how little you got paid
Oh,
on the
no.
internet. Do you know what I mean?
You got to keep that in. That's such a sizzling hot fajita plate of a take. What you're saying, Jamie, is that if you dissent in any way in the workplace, you will be squeezed out.
I'm not. I'm sort of just saying that, like, not me, but potential employers would look at that and be like, "Do I want to work with this person?"
We don't want to work with that whiner.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I agree
you
with
agree with
it.
it. No. Of course, you're absolutely right. That's how the world works. There's 10 other production designers as good as you, and you're doing the admirable thing. You're speaking out against a broken system that should be more equitable for all creative professionals, and that includes. When I say creative professional, I don't just mean people who contribute creatively. I mean people who work in the creative arts. You know, your carpenters, your people who hold things. Like everyone should have more equity in a system that generates this much wealth. But you're right. If you're a visible dissenter in any paid employ, you are less popular to big corporate entities. You might be more popular to other, you know, like-minded individuals. There's probably directors out there who are looking for those kind of voices in their films because they want to populate their sets with thinkers and people who believe in social justice. But it's unlikely, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unlikely, but then it's also like, and I don't want to throw those directors under the bus, but they'll only take you as far as
Yeah.
they can, and then they'll drop you for the system.
Yeah. Speaking up against the studio system is a quick ticket to being a production designer on community theatre. That's
Yeah.
just a sad fact.
Anyway,
It's
should we get
terrible.
into some spoilers?
Yeah, spoiler alert.
I loved this movie so much. I think that like Indy Navarrette's performance against herself, basically, it should be in Oscar contention. It won't be.
I received a text from a friend of the pod, Mr. Matthew Merlo, who said the exact same thing. He didn't say it won't be. He said she deserves an Oscar.
If this was an Evil Dead movie, which I think it spiritually feels kind of Evil Dead-y.
It's more the direction I would love to see the modern Evil Dead movies going in, for sure.
Yeah. She just does such an incredible job. And like the material is good. I like a horror film that has an arbitrary thing at the center of it with a rule.
Mm.
And the rule is you get to make one wish. Everybody in the movie is like, these things are real. So don't come crying to me when you break your legs. And I love that. I love that like people aren't like, I mean, obviously he doesn't expect it to work because he lives in our world, whereas everybody else in the movie lives in their world or whatever. And his performance is also good. Michael Johnston, I think he plays that really well. He has I think a harder sometimes has a harder job than her. It's quite not easy to do what she's doing, but like she can be massive and she can do the unhinged things, whereas he has to, open a door that's covered in tape, and you're like, I understand what you're doing here with the tape. Like she's done this. It's a ridiculous thing to, but like you wouldn't just open that door and go through it and then go to work. You'd be like, why have you covered the fucking door in tape? Absolutely.
He does have to sell some incredibly strange decisions to the audience, and he also has to go to these places that feel really unique to him as a character, because it's like you say, it's not the kind of thing that everyone would do. He is a uniquely damaged individual, a uniquely and painfully and ultimately life-endingly codependent individual, and that's portraying that. It requires so much nuance, and the balance that he walks between being kind of the baddie, well, very much the baddie, but also he has to be likable enough for us to still care about his mortality, his journey, everything, while watching Indy Navarrete smash fuck out of this performance. I don't think I've seen a single standalone performance outside of some some really interesting bottle episodes and some TV shows and stuff, but like, talk about steal everything and run away at full speed. She's gripping and terrifying and so interesting to watch. Unpredictable, frightening, fucking majestic. I don't know. There's not enough words. It's a fucking mind-blowing performance.
I have a hot take about Indy Navarrete and her performance and her future. And I think potentially her career is hampered by how attractive she is. If she was like 20% uglier, she would be the best character actor. Like
this Steve Buscemi of like,
do you know what I mean? She would be able to, she would be in so many Jeff Nichol movies and like.
If she looked even remotely like a human being you might encounter on Earth.
Yeah.
she might get more work.
Like think about like.
I don't think it's going to slow her down, dude.
I don't think it is either. I think she's going to have an amazing career, but like maybe not the career that I want her to have, which is incredible, insane character actor being able to give amazing performances. Think about like Melissa Leo in like The Town.
Fucking and like right. God, she's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a toughie. I don't like to really predict how this stuff goes. I'm usually completely wrong. I just think she's an incredibly interesting performer, because she's shown in this movie just how hard and convincingly she can sell some of the most visceral relational horror you could ever even imagine, but also that she can do so with just incredible physicality, in every respect, full commitment to every single aspect of the role. I really feel like she's hurting herself when she's hurting herself. Like I'm worried for the actress, not the character. It's such a convincing portrayal of a really unique situation. You know, how often do you get told you're going to be portraying someone who's essentially trapped inside a possessed body that is bound by obsessive love to another human being that isn't real, that is magically invoked or cursed, and you have to play all notes of that scale, every single part of it. At times you're going to be really you, at times you're going to be wholly taken over by the obsession, but you've got to keep it in your eyes a little bit that you're still in there. I just can't even imagine starting to put that character together and then portray it. And something in me, like something really basic in me, thinks, you don't have to be making movies like this. Look at you. You could do anything. You Literally. Must love this shit. And that just makes you even more awesome. I think it's incredible.
I'm sure she'll be in Marvel movies too this time next year, but like, we'll see.
For her sake, I just hope she makes all the money in the world and is happy as a clam for the rest of her life. Because to have a career-defining performance that young and to just I don't know. I can't imagine the sense of achievement you must get walking away from a film like that. I don't know how much actors like watch their shit back and critique it or praise themselves or whatever, but to know the strength of that performance and move on to something else, the confidence that must give you must be fucking unbelievable.
Yeah. Like I also, like I said, I think Michael Johnston does do a really good job. And he
Yeah.
has to, but he has to stand opposite Indy Navarrete and be like, okay. And I don't know how much of his good performance is off the back of like her good performance and being like, okay, well, I need to be better because she's so fucking good. But
It's an
like,
interesting relationship, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people say acting is more reacting, isn't it? Like
yeah,
it's important how you respond to your fellow performers, etc., etc. But it would be doing him a disservice to say that he doesn't do great work here. And I think he has a phenomenal performance to react
yeah,
against, or whatever. You got to imagine the shoot was quick. I bet they were moving at a clip, and I just think she brings a lot of the kind of humor that I love in horror, the kind of shit that really makes me laugh out loud in the cinema. But so does he. He's really quite funny, I think.
yeah. And there are some jokes. I'm gonna put this in huge fucking air quotes. There are some
Yeah,
like jokes in this that are editing jokes, and they're horrible, and they're funny, and they're uncomfortable, but they're
yeah,
horrible. There's like a moment where he basically is like, "Okay, you're completely tapped, and I now absolutely know that this isn't you, and you're under the spell of this one wish willow or whatever."
yeah,
And then the smash cut is to them having sex.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is funny, this is horrible, this is uncomfortable,
It's all of
but
it.
it's still funny. It's a
Yeah.
punchline to a joke, and the joke is how gross are men. And
How
like,
horny. It's the
yeah,
depth of your horniness is unbelievable. Finally a movie that shows how horny we can be.
yeah. And like he does a really good job, I think, of selling the sort of the quote unquote nice guy that he believes himself to be at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And like I don't think he starts the movie as a villain. Like
No.
when he makes the wish, he's not expecting it to work.
No, and he is quote unquote friend zoned using
Yeah.
the parlance of his friendship group, but he's not at that point. He doesn't give off violent incel vibes. I'll get
No.
what I want by whatever means necessary, kind of thing. He's
No, but
not like
when he's presented with that
yeah,
and he is very aware that it's happened,
yeah.
he's not like, "Oh, I could stop this." I mean, he doesn't even want to cancel the wish really when he speaks to Curry Barker on the phone.
It does take
Like,
him an enormous amount of time to even consider cancelling that wish. It really does take quite some time.
that is
But again,
all,
that's funny. That's
yeah.
such a comment on male sexuality.
I think that scene is the funniest scene in the movie as well. It's also one of the scariest. Like this movie has it is funny and it has such an insane balancing act between like laugh out loud, comedy funny, uncomfortable funny, and genuinely fucking terrifying. And that scene is like the perfect encapsulation of that. Like there's a phone number on the back of your One Wish Willow, and it is a direct line to a guy that hates his job, who's just
Yeah,
like, Why are you ringing me? Like,
yeah,
do you want to cancel your wish?" And he's like, "Whoa, no, 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 no."
yeah.
And then
Well, no,
like,
no, whoa. Let's not pull that lever. Just slow down there, cowboy.
yeah. And then when it's like, "Do you want to talk to her?" And it's just her screaming, like the real Nikki, just like screaming in the back. Oh, it's like a
Dude,
tightrope walk, and it's so good and clever, and oh, it's great. And
I'm going
like,
to tell you for my money what the two scariest moments in the movie are, and then I want
well,
you to tell me yours. I'll give you a minute to percolate while I tell you mine. One is that
yeah,
when the sort of like the guy you assume is in like a Salt Lake City call center and is baked and it's just like, oh yeah, these little wishes, they really work, whatever. Sitting there reading comic books. He becomes the gatekeeper, uh, literally on the fucking bridge to hell. In
yeah,
the shift of a nothing sentence, you then hear her screaming in agony for mercy in whatever torturous dimension her spirit has gone to as a result of this wish. And along that theme, the thing I found scariest in the movie is that whole concept. But when when he's sneaking out of bed to leave to go see his other friend, and she's able to talk to him because the body is asleep, and
yeah,
she can beg him to kill her. That is one of the darkest, one of the most frightening, and one of the most like the fucking steel cable on a bridge in the wind levels of tension that I've ever felt in a cinema. And it was so bleakly upsetting. It nearly made me cry. It was so dark. I think those are two of the scariest moments of the movie, two of the scariest things I've ever seen in a cinema.
The tensest moment for me
Yeah.
is the way that, and I think that Cory Barker, he doesn't have like a style to speak of. Like you wouldn't be able to look at him and be like, that's Sam Raimi or whatever. Like it's Cory Barker. He just puts a camera in a weird place and lets it sit there for as long as humanly possible till it
Yeah.
kind of hurts. And the scene where where Bear's in the car with Sarah,
Yeah.
and the shot, there's so much like negative space through the window behind her. Like we know that
You just know.
we know that Nikki's coming, and the
Yeah.
shot just holds for so long, and then boom, she's there, and it's way worse than you ever thought it was going to be.
It's so much worse. And but what a testament to that as a filmmaking technique, that you know it's going to happen and you still fly out of your seat.
Yeah.
And by the time you hit your seat, you're laughing. And then when you see what's happening, you're like, oh no. Within the space of like 3 seconds, you've gone through every emotion the film gives you. And including, I was pissing myself laughing by the end of that scene. It's exactly the kind of thing that makes me laugh because I'm so scared.
It's horrible and hilarious at the same time, because it's like, it's almost like a Stuart Lee joke. It just goes on and on and on. Like she's just bashing her head into a brick for like 25 minutes, it feels like.
So good. And again, but you're
she's
killing...
doing it, she's like, you wished for this. This is what you wanted.
Yeah.
And like,
you're killing
so
such an innocent character. You're killing someone so likable, who's in the throes of something so relatable to this audience. You know, somebody who's about to, you know, in American culture, you know, going off to college is kind of the start of your life. You know, it's the start of your life as an independent person. She's obviously worked with her dad for a long time. She's made some mistakes. She's maybe not academically brilliant, but she's obviously like turned shit around, and she's off to college. And then her entire head is smashed into sinewy, gristly pulp against a brick in a car just because she sat with her mate and had a chat and sort of insinuated that they might kiss. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's, oh God, it's painful. But that's so well done. You know, we don't give a fuck that character's face got mashed up if she's not built up to be someone we genuinely care about. You know, this is a masterclass in character-led horror.
It absolutely is, especially like as a character, she has very little to do.
Yeah.
And they still managed to build her into a character.
They still slow burn her,
Yeah. She has an internal life. We see it. We know that she, like, it's, I think on second watch, there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't pick up on in the first watch.
Right.
Which is like, Ian is, I think, fairly clearly trying to sabotage Bear from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because like him and Nikki are already hooking up or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't want Bear to ruin that.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't want Bear to hurt himself or whatever, but like, it sort of feels like he's not like, dude, she's not into you, just like leave it. He's like, just don't do it yet. We know
it's realistic teenage, like it's not quite Machiavellian, but it's manipulative teenage hormone-led shit, and it's believably that 100%. It feels like aspects of this are lived.
Yeah.
It's not just like, you know, oh, I'm writing these teenagers, what would they do? It feels that's legit what they would do.
Yeah, and I like that, like, Cory Barker also, because he's 26, and I don't even know when he wrote this, but like, there are so many movies about teenagers in horror situations that are directed by people that are 35 and upwards, written by people that are way older, and like, they just don't know how teenagers speak.
No.
And like, I think there's an element of this where it could be, they don't speak like Zoomers. They're not like, we're, you know, I can't do it because I'm not. You've
got to do it now, Jamie. You've got to do it.
They're not like, I don't know. I can't do it. I can't.
Hula hoop.
Yeah.
I'm more like, about the yo-yo.
Yeah.
I'll have a root beer float. You know, these kids are obsessed with their root beer floats and their fucking talk boys.
On their skateboards and...
Those skateboards are dangerous. Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no cap bullshit. It's not going to date itself in that way. But it's also not like, hey, check out my VHS player. You know, it doesn't lean too hard into an aspect of a generation that it's going to alienate future viewers or even old folks like us. It's so
Yeah.
perfectly pH neutral in its characterization of these like late teens, early 20s individuals. It
There
doesn't
was
ruin it.
there was one moment where I was like, I don't believe that a 17-year-old kid or whatever, 20-year-old kid, however, he's old enough to live on his own
Mm.
and they can go to a bar and drink. So let's say they're 20, 21, 22.
Good point. They're not teenagers, are they? Yeah, good point.
So, but there's a moment where I was like, I don't think that this age character would do that. And it's when he goes to the search engine, Probe, and types in, does a Wish Willow, a one Wish Willow work? And he capitalizes one Wish Willow. And I was like, nobody is going to a search engine and capitalizing the proper noun.
Nobody's doing what is the equivalent of calling the cops for this situation. Nobody's
Yeah.
doing that, with correct grammar.
It reminded me of my dad when he wanted to go on Facebook. He would open a browser window. He would go www.google.com.
Yep.
He would open google.com. He would go to the search bar of google.com and would type www.facebook.com.
Yeah.
Press enter. Not press enter. Get the mouse. Click. Search.
Yep.
And then Facebook would be the first result and he would click onto Facebook.
Yep.
It's sort of, that is
it's foolproof. It gets him where he's going.
it's the Zoomer equivalent of that is typing, is capitalizing one Wish Willow. And I'm guessing they're doing it because this one Wish Willow thing has been very heavy in the marketing and there's a lot of branding around it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think they did make some as like promotional items. I wouldn't be surprised if they're everywhere, if they're not everywhere. Like
I hope they are, because when I saw a twig in a box with a price tag on it, I was like, someone's making good money on that. That's something that you can fucking take to the bank. It's incredible. I mean, I love the hippie shop as well, because I literally went to one today. I go to a lot of hippie shops, and the shit that they sell in there, dude, it's just rocks and sticks and stuff, like just crap woven together with a price tag on it. It's astonishing what people buy.
I love it. There's one like pretty close to my house, and I go in there quite often, and it's just like, it's just fun to be in there and be like, look, here's a rock. It's £12. Cool.
Exactly. It's a rock, dude. I buy essential oils and occasionally incense, and they're obviously cheap, and I can't make my own essential oils. And at the time I tried to make incense, it was a disaster. So I don't mind paying a bit of money for that. But fuck, when I look and there's like, this is a piece of bark. It's got a 2-figure price tag. What is happening? I love that shit. I think fair play. If you can sell bark to people, then people deserve to fucking buy bark.
I completely agree, and I love it. But while we're talking about the one Wish Willow, I love the rule, and it's sort of at the start of the movie when they established the one Wish Willow, you only get one wish. Like, it seems like a stupid, arbitrary, like Gremlins rule of like, this is a rule because it's a rule, and then
I'll just buy another one, and then you find out, it means one
and then,
forever.
Then it plays back into the end of the movie. It's actually like a really smart movie rule, and I love like a rule.
Yeah, you can imagine sort of workshopping this a bit and being like, but what fucks him? Like, surely you can just undo the wish, or you can just immediately ask someone to undo the wish or whatever. Here's all the things that are going to fuck him, and it's mostly deep psychological damage and ego and a lack of inspiration, I would say, and a lack of, I'd like to think, Jamie, if I got myself into this kind of pickle, even if I was absolutely out of my tree with upset, distress, stress, etc., I could ring you up and explain the situation. You'd be like, okay, dude, I'm just gonna wish your wish away. Like,
I wish for $1 million. If you told me that the wish thing was real,
I wouldn't. That's exactly what he does wrong, isn't it? If I just said to you, mate, I just need you to say, I wish Sam hadn't made his wish, and snapped this stick. I ask you shit like this all the time. That's not an unusual request.
I don't have a bit of scaffold bar, mate. I'm sorry.
I know, I'm sorry. But you'd just be like, okay, I wish Sam didn't make his wish. Beep, burp, snap. Job done. But the stakes are so high. The drama's so high. The relationship is such that that's never going to work. And we're just sitting here going, no, not him. Ask anyone. Ask someone on the street. Just fucking not that guy. And then wham, what do you know? I was surprised when he got shot in the head. I did not see that coming. That was a real jump for
Well,
me, jump scare.
neither did he, to be fair.
No. Yeah, it's probably for the best. Core blimey. I don't feel satisfied with the ending either, to be honest. She's put through such hell.
Yeah.
And yes, she probably has $1 billion is the subtext.
Well,
But
she does, but also
fucking
there's
hell.
3 dead people around her. She's not getting away with that.
No,
like-
and that was one of the hardest reveals, was that she comes to essentially and looks around and sees the fucking devastation. And you're like, I don't know how much of this she's been able to perceive from inside that body. I think she's
Yeah.
been elsewhere. I think
So
she's been.
I see it as she's looking through her eyes like being John Malkovich. Like
I thought that, but I've gone back. I've walked back on that. So tell me what you think.
Well, that's what I think, because like in the moments where she comes through, where she manages to break through, let's call her Freaky Nikki, and she manages to become like actual Nikki again. Like she has to be there. She has to be close by in order to do that.
Yeah, but that's what's horrifying to me, is that I had 2 images in my mind of where she was. Immediately, I thought of hell, because that's just where my brain goes. I don't think she's being tortured. I think it's probably like being. I think it's probably like being buried alive, except every now and then you have this moment of lucidity. It's like being trapped under ice and you're crawling around under the ice, and every now and then there's a clear patch of ice and you get to see what's going on, and that's when you bang and you come through a little bit. That's how I.
It's an interesting take. I like that.
If the deeply unfortunate event happens that there's a sequel and they go all insidious and you get to go into the beyond or whatever, that's how I would imagine it. But I just thought, that it was it was food for the imagination the entire time. As soon as we find out she's able in some way to pop out a little bit, your mind is just constantly whirring over the possibility of her being tortured, trapped, buried, hidden, bound, whatever. And it's agony, because we like her. We don't know much about the real Nikki, really. We don't get to spend a huge amount of time with her. We like her, and we know that she absolutely categorically doesn't deserve this. And the whole rest of the movie, we're just watching this agonizing degradation of both her physical form, obviously her sanity, the damage that is being done to all her relationships. Who the fuck's how does this pan out afterwards? What, you just be like, oh, I was wish possessed, these things really work, and then what? We get a Ghostbusters situation on our hands, and there's no coming back from that. Like, it becomes law. The ending was like, you've left me in such a horrible emotional state with this ending. Thank you very much, you fucker.
Yeah, it's I think the ending is amazing. Like,
I
more
agree.
generally, I think like him finally being like, and the score I think is amazing. It really reminds me of like the Angelo Badalamenti, like the stuff that he would do with David Lynch, like particularly the Twin Peaks score. It's like really evocative of that to me. But like the moment at the end where he's like, I'm going to kill myself. Like, this has gone too far. The only way this ends is if I kill myself.
Yeah.
And we get that sort of triumphant but sort of resigned music as he's taking the oxycodones at the end, the stuff that killed the cat. We'll get onto the cat in a minute. So much dead cat. And like that, it's so like the music is great, and like the sort of the slow zoom in as he's like swallowing these pills and like resigned himself to the fact that he's dying. And then he's like, he bottles it and he's like, no, I would rather be alive and deal with this insane thing that's happening over here than like stop the killing.
At that point as well, she's just shot his best mate. She's like, it's fucking gone mental.
Like, the characterization of Bear, I think, is so good all the way through, because like he's given like a fork in the road so many times, and he constantly chooses the wrong thing. And like he starts off in like a fairly normal place of like, I like this person and maybe she likes me. Okay, she doesn't. Here's the wrong choice. I'll make the wish. Okay, I've learned the wish is real. I can end it or I can have sex with her. Well, okay, that's the wrong choice. And then like
it's all quite self-serving stuff.
Yeah, and it goes on and on and on to the point where he's like, okay, well, I either kill myself and stop this or I don't.
Yeah.
And he chooses ultimately don't. And then I love that she makes the wish, and that his whole characterization changes because he's now in love with her, which he wasn't before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a really interesting thing to throw in there at the last minute. Is like, look at how different it looks like to love this person
Yeah. Especially
versus
in the scene that we get, how just obviously completely fucked up the entire scene is.
yeah.
These two happy, lovey-dovey, in love people who are bleeding to death and dying of overdose at the same time.
Yeah, and then like obviously he dies, and she's like, "Oh my god, he's dead, and I love him so much. I need to kill myself."
Yeah,
And then like I was like, "Don't do it. I don't need to see her die."
yeah.
And like,
That's what my head was like. What this film has a fucking hard choice to make in the next 2 seconds. Well, oh,
yeah,
okay, right, it did the right thing.
I like it's not a happy ending that she doesn't kill
No,
herself.
no,
Like it's I mean, arguably, not to quote Buffy, but the hardest thing for this character at this point is to
just to
live.
live. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, absolutely. Either ending is defensible, in my opinion. This is the braver ending, I think, the more
yeah,
food for thought type ending. I mean, I might be a real basic little boy, but I thought this is Romeo and Juliet, is it not? Like, it was very,
yeah,
Big Billy Shakespeare at the end there. And we don't often get to compare really good, really satisfying horror movie experiences to the the work of William Shakespeare, do we?
yeah,
Without any sense of like being facetious. I think it was telegraphing Romeo and Juliet. Oh, God, what an ending. Brutal punishment for the audience. I mean, people were in shock at the end, I think, in my screening. Like, there was lots of anxious giggling, lots of couples looking at each other very knowingly, tons of couples in this screening, like leaving, sort of like, oh no, like having to deal with some real home truths. And it was just such a soup of shit leaving that
yeah.
cinema. So many emotions about to explode. It was
Well,
brutal.
that's what led me to the Carhartt section of John Lewis. Was just
There you
like,
go.
if the film resolved itself in any other way, if there was
Yeah.
like a ramp down from that level of tension, but like because the film doesn't resolve the tension that it's set up over the past like 90 minutes or whatever, it ramps up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster, and then it doesn't go down. You get to
No.
the top, and then you just live there. You live at
You
the top
kind
of
of
the roller
do
coaster now.
fly off into the abyss. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's why I was so insanely tweaked out afterwards, is because I had nowhere to put that energy.
You were tweaking.
I
You
was
were.
I was
That's so funny. It's a movie where it's the first movie I've talk about like drop the fucking tone. First movie I've been to in probably 15 years where I haven't had popcorn,
yeah.
because I had popcorn the night before and I had a bad belly, and I was glad. I didn't have popcorn. But I think there's something that people probably won't talk about much, because it's a really uncomfortable aspect to the movie, and it's not delved into particularly deeply. But I think it's something that a lot of people will feel and suspect and think about during the film. And it's
Mm.
the idea that Bear's character is obviously, I think he's in love with her, but he's young. He hasn't got a particularly healthy relationship with the idea of what love is. It's, to him, it's quite a young, selfish, obsessive kind of love until he makes his wish. There's an aspect to the relationship really early on that's obviously quite sexually charged,
Yeah.
and his inability to walk away from it, I think, is more sexual than we're necessarily given in the in the sort of overt happenings of the movie, because there's a lot of subtext that he sort of wants a fuck doll. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's in there, and horribly uncomfortable for the reconciliation of that character, because at the beginning he's like a sweater wearing nice guy, and then this
Yeah.
slow revelation that the basest desires of men are essentially to get this kind of self-destructive devotion and servitude and worship, and really revel in parts of it, and then ultimately only back out when all your friends are dying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so punishingly dark that the portrayal of that level of cowardice is so uncomfortable for a lot of people, I imagine.
Well, so like I think the escalation in Nikki's character comes on. We see that whole montage of them having a nice time and it being like fairly nice and normal. And
Mm,
it's only when that sort of honeymoon period wears off for him and he's like, "Do you know what? Like we had a nice time, but maybe not." And like she
yeah,
can't just walk away. she's got this insane spell on her. So like
Yeah.
that represents the escalation. And
Do you think he fucks it up? Do you think the wish would just like not? I'm not saying work, but do you think if he?
if he loved her, I think it would have been okay. Yeah.
Do you think the root of the problem is that he's not actually? I mean, the title is somewhat of a giveaway. But you think he's more obsessed with her than he actually loves her in a true sense? And even though
Yeah.
the wish is deeply flawed and horribly narcissistic and motivated by essentially ownership of another human being, like if no, I don't think it would have ever worked out well. I
I
keep
don't think it would
thinking
have
like,
worked.
yeah,
So I haven't engaged with anything around like what Curry Barker has said about this movie
hmm,
directly, but I have seen stuff online where the where he said that One Wish Willows aren't a monkey's paw situation. They're not like if you make a wish, it doesn't inherently become the
yeah,
worst version of that wish.
yeah. It doesn't mean the
He just made a shitty wish,
yeah.
and as a result of that, like we don't know what would have happened with Ian if he, I don't know, carried on with that $1 billion, whether it would have disappeared from fucking Elon Musk's bank account and the cops break down his door and shoot him anyway, or whatever. Like,
Good, love that monkey's paw shit, by the way. But yeah.
yeah.
I don't think I think that's just generated out of thin air. Yeah,
But like the Curry Barker has literally said like it's the One Wish Willow wish isn't inherently a negative thing.
Yeah.
It's not just going to come back and bite you in the arse.
Mm,
He made a shitty wish, and like I think when they're in quote unquote love in those early scenes in that montage, like everything is fine and normal. I mean, she does show him an AI image that says, "I want to wear your skin like a sweater," but
so sick.
there is that.
I've said worse things than that in the throes of passion to a
Of
woman
course.
I'm in love with.
Yeah.
We're weird. We're creeps. I relate to her a lot.
But like things only become fraught when it's clear that he doesn't really love her or he doesn't feel the same way
Yeah.
about her as she feels for him. And therefore, and also the way that the wish is worded, I wish Nikki would love me more than anyone else on the fucking planet.
Mm,
When we know that Sarah has feelings for him and maybe he loves him, she has to escalate how she feels about him to there's a point where maybe on day one you love him more than anyone else on the planet because his cat's dead and his grandma's dead and Sarah likes him but doesn't love him, and then by the end of the movie she's like in love with him and therefore Nikki has to love him more and that makes her more insane or whatever. I don't know, but like I think the wording of the wish means that like there is it's not I wish that Nikki loved me. It's
not even like I wish for a healthy, consensual relationship with Nikki.
yeah.
Or like I hope I find love. I wish I would find love, real love.
Yeah.
You could draft that wish a little tighter. It's kind of impulsive.
Again, because he doesn't think it's going to work.
No,
it's
of course.
not.
Yeah, the scariest thing for me, and I'll be totally honest about the relational horror, the relationship horror in the movie, because it goes to places in the dark side of love, the dark side of and a particularly obsessive kind of love, obviously. The moment where she's standing in the corner of the room watching him sleep.
Oh, incredible scene.
Obviously really scary. It's scary end to end. I heard some people say they didn't actually like or think it was necessary for her to have jerky movements, like the classic Silent Hill nurse jerky movements or whatever. I don't think that was a misstep necessarily. Like for me as a viewer, it worked. It didn't feel out of character.
So my take on that, just to interrupt, my take on that is that Nikki at that point doesn't know how to love him.
Yeah.
And I think that she's moving purposefully like a cat because she knows that he loved the cat and is trying to make him, and that's why she feeds him the cat. And
there's a feline kind of sexuality there.
There's all the weird cat stuff because like she knows that he loves the cat, and it's like maybe if I become more like the cat, he'll love me more or whatever. That's how I read that. Is like she's doing these weird catty moves. I don't see them as like sort of herky jerky, like crickety crackety Silent Hill movements. They're much
Crickety
more.
crackety, love it.
They're
No, I'm
much
with you.
more
Yeah.
like fluid, but they're inhuman. And that was my
Yeah.
take on that. But sorry, carry on. You were
That's a
making your
great
point.
take. I hadn't thought about it that way at all. I wish that had been my comeback, Jamie. I wish I was as smart as you. Um, I love that. I'm not willing
That's
to
the
talk
clip
about the
from the start of the
nightmare.
episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely unwilling to talk about the nightmare that I had the other night because too much of it is being teased out here by it might have been this movie that gave me the nightmare now that I think about it, but like there's so much happening in this film in the realm of the horror of love that hits so hard and so deep and so
Yeah.
mercilessly and goes to places that honestly I don't think I've seen a lot of horror movies go to. I mean, we've done a few movies with similar takes and very different devices of conveying that level of obsessive love. But this is raw as fuck. This is the direct headshot version of that.
Absolutely. In that scene when she's in the corner, there's also another one of the scariest and funniest moments in the movie when she gets into bed with him and he sort of inches to get out and she just says like stay, and it's
Yeah, the
like
scream.
it's again hilarious and terrifying. I think that's the obviously this Cory Barker does this great tightrope walk of the tone throughout the movie, and whoever's editing it and everybody else involved, they all contribute to that. I think that's the Evil Dead thing as well as like the character that looks like the person that you like, but they're
Yeah.
actually, fucking tapped or whatever. The way that it like balances the comedy and the horror feels like peak Sam Raimi, who obviously we talk about. We've not mentioned Nicolas Cage yet this episode. I'm sure we'll get to him, but like, that's like, Mark Kermode always says the thing is like Evil Dead is like a slapstick comedy, but it's blood instead of custard pies.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the same. They're doing something similar here, not blood. It's just like female rage instead of custard pies. But
it's a really sophisticated kind of humor. And it's the first time I've seen an entire movie end to end not put a foot wrong with the comedy. Sometimes a joke doesn't land or, there's a bit that doesn't quite pay off. This is the closest I've ever seen hysterical humor to hysterical horror.
Yeah.
The two are just grinding along next to each other the whole movie. And I think it also hits different people in different ways. The stuff that I was laughing out loud at in the cinema wasn't always like echoed around the whole room. There was bits where other people were bursting out laughing and I was like, it's too fucking dark for me to laugh right now, dude. Or it was, too obviously funny for me, but made someone else piss themselves. But it just never puts a foot wrong comedically. And I think that's an incredible achievement for a film that is obviously the scariest film to hit cinemas in 20 years.
I think like it's the balancing act isn't like most horror comedies. I wouldn't call this a horror comedy, but like most horror comedies are like, here's some funny stuff, here's some stuff that is maybe scary. We'll cycle around these things for a bit and then we'll roll the credits.
We won't often do both at the same time. And if we do,
this is like
we won't do it well.
The funny is scary and the scary is funny. And we said it earlier in the episode, but like you find it funny on a humor level, you're laughing on an uncomfortable level, and you're scared on the area of you that gets scared. Like it's operating, it's 4D horror comedy chess. Like
it really is, with lasers and 3D glasses. Yeah. It's
he's Catherine Zeta-Jones in Entrapment, like weaving
through the lasers.
The lasers of horror and comedy.
Yeah, and he does such a good job of it. He reminded me at times of lots of different actors, and I found it a little bit difficult to really see him as a unique performer in some ways, because he I'm not saying, it sounds mean, I'm not saying he has a blandness about him. I think he has to inhabit a role that's a little bit meek at times.
Well, you have to empathize with him. Even though we know that he's making the wrong decisions and the movie is telling us that he's doing the bad things.
Yeah.
But like you still have to kind of want to be on his side.
So you got to put your anchor somewhere in this movie, and he's really your only option. Any port in a storm kind of vibe. But we know the whole way. Any like intelligent viewer of this isn't like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, fuck her. Like everyone is like, holy fuck, he's really going there. You know,
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have to 100% back him. Do you know, did you ever get around to watching Halloween Ends?
Not yet.
Okay, well, Rowan Campbell is the central protagonist in that movie. That's the actor's name. And put these two guys next to each other. And, you know, I haven't watched him in much else. He's in The Monkey, obviously. But
Yeah.
both, I'd go as far as say very similar actors cut from a very similar cloth. And hopefully able to sort of push into all the directions we've just talked about as being really important and really exciting for the horror genre, because he goes to some really dark psychological places in that movie, and I think he wants to push the material further. Like Halloween Ends has some incredibly strange, dark, codependent themes, and I can see he is like clawing for more depth, but unfortunately, at times the script doesn't really permit it. The universe doesn't really permit it. But yeah, I'd say watch some of his stuff, put them side by side, and see what you reckon, because they're fairly similar. They're bringing fairly similar kind of palettes, I think, emotionally to their performances.
You invoked the monkey there, and I think there's a real danger that this movie could be tonally very similar to the monkey.
Yep. There's a universe where this is just a bad, schlocky, self-aware, dark romance kind of comedy.
Yeah. There could easily be a million, like, and as a person that writes stuff, like, it's very easy to fall into these sort of traps of like, well, I've watched a million things where people have been like, whoa, that just happened, or whatever. And like,
I know exactly what you mean. Someone gets beheaded, it's like, whoa, that just happened.
Yeah.
Hate that
Or
shit.
like, should we do this thing? This obvious thing? Nah. Or like, there's loads of like those things that like we just sort of grew up with and have become everywhere now. And like, I find myself doing it in my writing too. And I have to be like, okay, you've written the shit thing. Now go back and make it not shit.
Unwrite it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't know how many times, I mean, maybe no times, Corey Barker had to go back and be like, okay, I've fallen into a trap here.
Right.
I've stood on a booby trap and there's an arrow flying out of the wall towards me. I need to unwrite this schlocky bit of thing. And like, there's so much of that in The Monkey of like, none of the blows land because like, nothing has any real stakes.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, everything lands. And
the stakes
it's funny.
in this are unbearable. Yeah, it really makes a lot of movies where I've said, you really feel the stakes. Let's go back and watch that again and compare it to this masterclass in tension.
It's like me and the butchers. You really feel the stakes. It's like me when the butcher's back's turned.
You dirty bastard. Oh, love it. Wait till the butcher's back's turned. Really get a feel for those steaks. If you had to have sex with a piece of meat, which cut would you choose?
That's a great question. We'll talk about that and our summations after the break.
Let's do it.
Will you give it up, man? Nobody's out there. We're alone. Oh no, there's somebody out there. I'm picking up all this crosstalk.
Right, Sam, I'm back. And before we get into our final sum-ups, I just want to say, head yourself over to redscare.net, find out what's happening with all those lovely Red Scare bands, see what festivals they're playing over the summers, what tours are coming up in cities and towns where you live.
Or even where you don't live. Like Jamie said, if I could head myself, I would head myself at a Red Scare gig.
Head yourself there.
See you there.
Yeah, redscare.net. Okay. I don't remember what we were saying before the break. And that's good, because I think you might have asked me what piece of meat I would like to fuck. I think I've said almost everything that I have to say about this movie. I fucking loved it. I think it would easily there was no degradation of experience on my second watch within 10 days.
That's rare.
Like, obviously, when I watched the back rooms again, I experienced it differently.
Yeah.
But like, I knew all the stuff that was coming. I knew all the feelings that I was going to feel, and I had girded myself for that. Whereas watching this again, I felt everything just as viscerally as the first time I watched it. Who knows where we'll be this time next year when I've seen it 10 more times. But like, I am day one for Corey Barker. I went
Yeah.
after watching this, I went back and watched all of his shorts on YouTube. There's one called The Chair that I really recommend. There's like a lot of like you can see sort of the embryonic stage of obsession in that. Milk and Cereal, which is a bit is maybe an hour-ish, is also great. He's
That also has Cooper Tomlinson in it as well, doesn't it? They're obviously
yeah.
buds. Yeah.
I cannot recommend this highly enough. Like I've been trying to everyone that I've spoken to about it, I've been like, this is fucking terrifying. It's horrifying. It's the scariest movie I've seen in cinemas. There's like a whole what's the word? Influencer trope where
Mm.
influencers are coming out after every single horror movie released, being like, "This is the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life." Like,
Really?
it's the first great horror movie of the year. It's the scariest movie of the year, or
Sure.
whatever. And like, I'm not a person that says that lightly.
Yeah.
This is one of the scariest movies I have ever seen in my life. I've never shaken in John Lewis before. Maybe with
Maybe
anticipation.
looking at a price tag. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because this has been a strong summer for horror so far. You know, already on the podcast, we've had Hokum, Backrooms, and Obsession, and all three of them are hits. All three of them are totally different movies, and all three of them you want to see in a cinema, in my opinion, if you can.
Yeah.
These are cinematic experiences.
I saw the trailer for this before a million movies over the past few months before it came out. And
Yeah.
I was like, that looks like utter horse shit.
Really?
Like, obviously, the shallowness of the actions of the protagonists
Mm,
are a feature, not a bug. Like, it's part of the movie
sure.
that these are shallow people making shallow decisions.
Mm,
But in the trailer, I was just like, this looks like fucking kids wandering around, and then occasionally something spooky will happen. And I was like,
yeah.
this just looks. I'll go see it because I have my fucking Odeon thing, but like,
Mm,
I'm not anticipating a lot. And then
yeah.
when a bit more word of mouth came out, I was like, okay, maybe there's some anticipation here. And then here I am. So potentially this is a product of me having fairly low expectations, but
Doesn't detract from it. I don't think I have nothing expectations going into this film, and I feel the same as you.
yeah, I I just fucking loved it. As a rating, I'm going to give it 13 out of 15 smacks in the face with a brick.
Oh, that's a lot of brick face smash.
It is, but it deserves
Still
it.
not quite as good as Killer Clowns from Outer Space, eh?
Nope.
Nope, nothing ever will be. I'm going to echo your sentiments entirely, Jamie. I think what the only thing I would add to what I've already said is that this film is, yes, it's a great horror film, but I think the reason I wasn't so fucked up by the horror of the movie is because I enjoyed the film so much. This is such a
Mm,
well-made film. There's nothing really that I can say about this film that doesn't work. Essentially, not just for the genre, but more broadly, perfectly. It's I walked away with such a feeling of narrative satisfaction that I'd experienced real character depth, that I'd seen some of the scariest shit that I've ever seen in the cinema before, but I left feeling so wholly satisfied that I couldn't just be scared. It kind of transcends a lot of elements of the horror genre that are a bit more trashy or a bit more disposable or a little bit more only potent the first time. I think it's a
yeah.
movie that definitely keeps giving. It's thematically rich. It's incredibly clever. It's
I think
written and
like
directed by someone young. It's exciting.
yeah, I think like as a horror fans, we sort of are
Yeah,
bred to have like a certain level of compromise with our
for
movie. It's
sure.
like,
Yeah.
okay, that was really good. I really liked that, but like there was this, and this wrong with it. Even like we talked about The Substance quite recently, and like that's a
Mm,
great movie that blew both of our dicks off. But
yeah.
like we
Still had a
still
lot of problems.
yeah, I wasn't able to really find any problems in this movie.
Mm,
Who knows where we'll be after 5 or 6 more watches? But like,
yeah.
yeah, there was nothing in this that I looked at it and was like, well, that's not a decision that I would have made, or that's
Yeah.
not the right decision for this character in this moment, or to elevate the mood in this specific way or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there was no compromise necessary.
Apart
And
from your 6 pages of notes, no notes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm giving it 13 cat sandwiches out of 13. Just going the whole hog.
We didn't go back to the cat.
The whole meow.
The cat stuff, there's a lot of dead cat action in this.
Cooking a cat for someone's packed lunch. The slow reveal of that as well. Not just like, oh no, it's cat. Like 2 sides of a post-it, someone else's reaction. Oh God, come on.
Yeah.
He knows as a writer and a director how many people in his audience are going to have a real thing for cats, a real affinity, a life bond, a connection, a sad, lonely, shut-in like relationship with their cats. And he just fucking goes there. Woof.
Yeah, but like also like a thing that I clocked on the second viewing that I didn't clock on the first viewing is that like that cat has no capacity to open a bottle of oxycodone. Like Bear must have left that out accessible for the cat. Like
yeah.
The lid
How
is
did
off.
you get in here? He didn't. There's no way a cat can open a cabinet, unscrew a childproof pot, down a load of pills, and then go for a little lay down. That's not a thing. Cats don't do that.
Also, I don't believe a cat is taking any kind of pill on
willingly.
On its own merit. Like it's
you got to shove it up their ass.
Yeah. So yeah, but like there's a whole save the cat trope in like, and it was like a big thing in screenwriting in like the 90s, and like this obviously is a subversion of that.
Yeah.
Very
kill the cat, eat the cat.
Yeah.
Ritualistically sacrifice the cat's corpse. Jesus.
Yeah. What a movie.
Crash Bang Wallet, what a movie.
Yeah. I have something else that I wanted to ask you, but we don't have time right now. So I will ask you when we record next week in our Patreon section, and we can have a bit more discussion about Obsession then.
Sounds good.
But for now, I'm going to say that we'll see you for our next final transmission, and you should say goodbye, Sam.
Goodbye, Sam.
Goodbye, everybody.